Sophia. Um, I am on the Prairie to Sea Island Zone team, so I get to work on prairie conservation both in southwestern Washington and the South Puget Sound, and then up here in the islands. And I'm the species lead for golden paintbrush, so I get to work on this beautiful plant. So a little background on golden paintbrush: it was listed in 1997 when there were only 10 populations in Washington. There were no populations in Oregon at that time. It had been extirpated since the 1930s. And after extensive recovery efforts by people like Moza and Robert, and with the help of Eco Studies and other partners across the whole range, we now have over 48 populations. And this population specifically is really important because it's one of the largest in the North Puget Sound. It's very robust, and we just love the partnerships that have been crucial in the recovery of this species. It's really an exciting success story. Golden paintbrush has been proposed for delisting from the Endangered Species Act, so that means that we feel that the recovery is so great that we can remove it from the Endangered Species Act, and we should be hearing soon about that. But we will continue, if it does get delisted, we still will continue to work on this species with our partners here and continue to promote its conservation. So we're out here today taking counts of the site, and so maybe Adam can talk a little bit about that because he has been one of the crucial people working on recovery of the species for a long time.
Yeah. I'm Adam Martin. I'm with the Eco Studies Institute. I'm a applied ecologist. I've been working on golden paintbrush since 2010-ish, so just a little bit. These prairies are so complicated. It's like only after 10 years that you start to feel like you sort of know what's going on a little bit. And it's been really fun to see how things change. And when we first started doing this, we could go to every plant. Like, I knew where they all were. And you could just sort of, like, they're all individuals. And now we have to sample because there's so many. There's like probably 500,000 in Washington State right now, just across the whole range, which is really exciting. And I always like to think golden paintbrush needs a community of native plants to grow, and it's really succeeded when there's lots of individuals that help out too, and that's why I think PRI is such a successful site, because there's so many people working at it from different angles and different passions. And so what we've been doing today is we have these sticks to break up the visual space so that we're not trying to count the whole prairie, we're just trying to count what we can see. And then we do some math at the end of the day, and we can get an estimate at how many total flowering plants there were. There's almost 40,000 plants last year across Pacific Rim Institute, and there'll probably be somewhere similar to that just based on what we're seeing today. So it's a really successful site. We really couldn't do any of this restoration work we do in the North Sound without Pacific Rim Institute, which is really exciting. They've just been really successful and really stoked. And have you got to go to the farm they put in with all the paintbrush? This population is these plants. The genetics of the site were rescued from a eroding bluff site that's on the other side of the island. That is a few plants on like a little patch about as big as us that's sort of eroding into the sea. And so seed from that was rescued and then grown out in production and then put out here as a mix of seeds and plugs. So this like 40,000 plants started from a couple hundred plugs and some seed. So it's been a really big explosion in success, which has been nice, because in this little area is the remnant area on Pacific Rim Institute, so it's somehow escaped cultivation because it's such an important ag land. So yeah, that's what we're doing. And then many hands make light work. So.
Hi everyone, my name is Tyler Porter, also with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. I'm on the same team as Aaron, but I operate under our Partners for Fish and Wildlife and Coastal programs. That's the service's voluntary restoration program. So not much to add that hasn't been said. Just we're lucky enough to work with great partners on the island here. PRI doing amazing stuff 24/7, 365. So just lucky to have partners with them around the island doing restoration like this. I think that's it.
So this whole area used to be a prairie, basically from here to the other side of the island, and then a little south and a bit north. And so there's like 7 sites now in the Coopville area that have paintbrush to some capacity.
So can you like figure out how many approximately golden paintbrush there are with just doing the sampling on one day?
Yeah. From what we'll do this morning, we'll be able to estimate. So, it'll be a range of values, but it'll be a good ballpark. We try to do this that way we know if it's like a big change down or a big change up. But we're at the point now where we don't need to know every individual because we're in the many thousands. So if we're off by 1 or 2,000, it's not as a big deal. Which I think is a really good metric for success. Because it used to be we would have flags and we would like comb the prairie with pin flags to try to find each individual plant.
4 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So, I
So
think
you
that's
just
a good
walk
measure.
along and that's the swath that you look
Yeah,
at.
so you basically make like a little rectangle, and then with that you can estimate how many plants are in that rectangle.
Oh,
And then if you know the acreage of the site, then it's just doing some algebra.
oh, cool.
Yeah, it's sort of fun. Good to use algebra.
And similar efforts are occurring across all of the populations across its range this year. So we'll be able to know range wide how many golden paintbrush plants there are, which is really exciting.
And what's cool about this species is I'd probably say it's one of the people have been counting paintbrush since the like mid '80s pretty regularly. So in terms of rare species, it's one of probably the most looked at rare species probably in North America in terms of a longitudinal data set where we have really good counts because it's been sort of the same community of people that have been counting for the whole time, and we've all really tried to work together so we're all on the same page and doing the same thing. So we've been able to sort of look at the whole species for like the past 30
Is there
years now.
anything besides golden paintbrush that's monitored here, or is that it?
Well, I mean, we personally monitor a number of different species, but not that we're reporting for Fish and Wildlife or something, but just things that aren't necessarily endangered, but they might be more rare on our site. And so we're just kind of tracking them to see their growth.
You do have a really rare Plectritis
Right?
brachystemma.
Yeah, nobody seems to care about it, but
we
but
might
there are-
that might be
very
petitioned
wide
pretty
range,
soon.
yeah.
There's like one site. It's basically this site on Whidbey, and then like 3 or 4 other sites up in the San Juans. It's a
I keep
little.
telling people about it.
Yeah.
but it's very
It's sort of you only really find it in woodlands, like open woodlands,
edgy, kind of.
edgy, and that's a really rare habitat now.
Yeah.
So we sort of not only are we losing our grasslands, but we're sort of losing our woodland and savanna habitat because it's all related to it's all indigenous management that we're keeping those habitats open, and then the loss of that, and birding and all those things. We're also losing our buffer woodland